So we need to distinguish between just a belief or something that is reasonably, logically speaking, is true. So when I was 9 years old, my teacher told A, right? They told us A, and then when I came home, my parents told us, no, the teacher is wrong. It's actually B. But what could I do? Because I believed my teacher always told the truth and told what was right, and then my parents always told what was right. But what they were saying was that they couldn't be reunited. They couldn't be united because they had different opinions. And then I realized, like, hey, maybe my parents are not always right, or maybe my teacher is not always right. The only one who could decide who was right was me. So that's the moment I started to actually think for myself.
Oh, this is based on reasonable and logical.
Yes. So it forced me to start thinking for myself and not just simply accept everything that my parents were telling me or everything that my teacher was telling me. Basically, at that moment I realized that, oh, wait a minute, I have to actually start to think for myself, because it cannot be so that my teacher is always right or that my parents are always right. Right? So question authority, question beliefs that were held, and question, okay, well, where does this belief come from, and is there actually any reasonable foundation to assume that this belief is actually true?
Could you tell me what this means, belief again?
A belief is actually, it's not a fact. So
belief.
So I believe my great grandfather when he told my father that that evening sky. So that is a belief, right? If the evening sky turns red, then we will have rain tomorrow. That is a belief, but because it's not a fact. If the weather forecast tells me that it will the nights will be below 0 for the next week, that's also a belief. It's not a fact. Fact is that they have data, and based on that data, they are making forecasts. A belief is actually everything that beside the fact is a belief.
Oh, beside the fact.
So something that we don't know this for a fact that we will have ice on Saturday. It's based on a belief, and I believe the weather forecast is correct.
Event which is believed.
Right. So there is a belief. Oh, believe in God, right? But we don't know for sure that God exists. We believe in Him, but so we are quite sure that He exists, but we are not 100% sure. So otherwise, He would exist, and it's not a belief anymore; it's a fact. But we don't know as for a fact that God exists. So we might believe that the government has the best interest in mind with us, but we don't know this for a fact. So everything that is not a fact is basically a belief, and that needs to be tested. A critical thinker needs to test beliefs and needs to judge for himself, are the facts, are the things that I observe, the things that I know to be factually true, consistent with the belief. That requires a very skeptical mind. So basically everything that people are telling you, that they are telling you, it's okay, well, is that really true? Is there any reason to doubt this? Or what does what supports this claim? Is this claim in line with other information that I have, that I know to be factually true? Are there any inconsistencies between these two? And if there are any inconsistencies between something that I know to be true against what is actually factually untrue, then I might deduct, and that we come to that in the second slide, based on induction, deduction, or abduction, that things actually probably not true. So then your critical mind would say, okay, well, I reject this belief based on the fact that I have other information that shows that this logically could not be true. then there is another big thing: unbiased, objective analysis of facts, and this is very difficult because we all have our tachiba, we all have our standpoint, we all have our cultural background, and the way that we grow up and the position that we hold in society and everything else. So try to be as unbiased and objective as possible. It's difficult.
Why difficult?
Well, because basically, without realizing it, it's very fundamental, but without realizing it, for example, I've told it before, but I think the example that I would like to give for this is that, for example, when we were talking about persuasiveness, or we were talking about
okay, just simply saying is what happened in the past. Nobody knows.
all right. So that's very well. Well, certain facts we know. Certain facts we know, but actually looking at the same fact from different angles will give a completely different image. So we can basically look at the past and say, okay, the past is just a collection of wars. If we look at the past, it's just about war and big events. But if you look at the past from the eyes of a farmer somewhere in the country, then maybe war was never a reality for him. That's something that happened far away from him. So war was not a reality for person A, but could be. It's not recording. Mata. Yeah, now it's recording, but why did it stop?
No, not stop. Not stop recording.
Yeah, but it was stopped, the show, because you could start it again, and we were recording.
No, recording. No, stop.
Really? Did you stop it before then?
But
Stop automatically.
Yeah, that must have stopped because he could start it. That means that it was stopped.
If I push this button, it stopped.
Yeah, sure.
But I didn't push this button.
Right, but you could start it, so that means that it wasn't running, but you started it before. Therefore, it must have stopped. Deduction.
No, it's recording now.
Yes.
Now. No problem.
Right, now it's recording. But I think we missed something. If you look back the video, then you will realize that we actually missed something. But anyway, let's continue.
Go ahead.
So actually, let's say when we were talking about negotiation, and from my Western perspective, I would actually try to create a model of the reality, simplify the reality, and then use logics and a step-by-step approach to solve the puzzle, to basically come to an agreement that is beneficial, well, first and foremost for myself, but also try to let the other side gain something, right? So that is like a win-win negotiation. You try to get as much value on the table and then try to get the biggest share of that value. So that is I believed actually that everybody was thinking the same way, but it's not necessarily true. So, for example, when we look inside the mind of a Japanese person, he may not actually be look at the world as a model, as being a model, but more in a fashion where he's looking at the entire reality and try to drill into detail to get a better understanding how everything fits together. So instead of simplifying it, he's looking more into details. So a Western person like myself would try to go one level up and get the helicopter